mynews.studio.
The world's largest oil exporters have just agreed to start moving away from fossil fuels. But will this climate pact actually change the future, or is it just more talk?
Today is October 22nd, 2025. At COP28 in Dubai, nearly 200 countries reached a climate agreement that, for the first time, directly calls for reducing oil, coal, and gas use. Why does that matter?
It matters because we haven't seen this kind of language before. Past agreements focused on emissions or net zero, but this one says, let's transition away from fossil fuels. That's a significant change. The aim is to keep global warming under 1.5 degrees Celsius as set by the Paris Agreement.
Right, and to get there, this pact sets two main targets for 2030: triple renewable energy capacity and double energy efficiency. But how do they make sure countries actually deliver on these targets?
That's where the global stocktake comes into play. Every 5 years, countries submit updated national climate plans. These are called Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs. The first major checkpoint is in 2025. But here's the catch. There's no legal enforcement. It's really about peer pressure and public accountability.
So if a country falls behind, what happens? Is there any actual penalty for missing these targets?
Not in a formal sense. There's no penalty in the legal sense. The idea is that by making progress, or a lack of it, public, countries will feel pressure to do better. Whether that's enough for real change is a big question coming out of COP28.
Another important part of the agreement is the Loss and Damage Fund. What does that mean day to day?
That fund is designed to help countries hit hardest by climate impacts. Things like floods, hurricanes, droughts. The initial pledges add up to over $700 million. That sounds big, but climate damages already run into tens of billions each year. It's a start, but whether it's enough is uncertain.
And what about countries that rely heavily on exporting fossil fuels? How does the agreement address their situation?
The agreement uses the phrase just, orderly, and equitable transition. That means supporting these countries, especially developing ones, through financial aid, adaptation funding, and technical help. Platforms like the Santiago Network are part of that. But balancing economic diversification and protecting workers isn't easy.
Private sector investment is mentioned too. How crucial is that in making all this work?
It's essential. The International Energy Agency says clean energy investment needs to increase sharply. Public money can't cover it alone. COP28 calls for scaling up both public and private finance, especially for countries that depend on fossil fuels, to support a fair transition.
Some critics argue the deal isn't tough enough since it says transition away instead of phase out. Does that wording really leave room for loopholes?
That's the tension. This is a meaningful step, but not a full mandate. There's no global authority shutting down coal plants. Still, this consensus puts new pressure on governments and industries. Is it perfect? No. But 5 years ago, this language would have seemed out of reach.
It's a real shift in direction. On a global scale, this could reshape economies, affect jobs, even change geopolitics. These impacts will reach individuals too.
Absolutely. It's not just about emissions. It affects how we power our homes, how we work, how we travel, even what we eat. The ripple effects touch almost every aspect of daily life.
So, to wrap up, COP28's agreement is the first global move to transition away from fossil fuels, aiming for 1.5 degrees Celsius, with new monitoring but no legal enforcement. There's some funding for the hardest-hit nations, calls for more investment, and a focus on fairness for vulnerable economies.
The world has set a new direction, but the speed and fairness of the journey are still to be determined. Thanks for joining us as we unpacked this pivotal moment.
Thank you for listening. This episode was powered by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.